Hello, everyone. It is Friday, the 10th of March, 2023. Friday! And even though this morning before 6 a.m. there were people on the Heritage site, luckily it wasn't like overwhelmingly loud or anything like that. Like, I'm just trying to prove points here. I'm sharing like all that stuff just in the last few days because it's stuff that has been chronic for over 4 years now, and it's like they're just like keeping on it, like extending things and extending the builds, and then again over utilizing vehicles that are incredibly loud and larger than military grade tanks even that I've worked in and around my entire life, and they're operating them in broad daylight and using chronic whistle blasts that are causing chronic disabilities and injuries in children as they're developing, but also in adults because acute conditions turn chronic after 3 months even, and this has been over 4 years, and then within meters of homes where there are occupants. Like just it's not just because they're within meters of homes. It's because these 20-ton vehicles that are like 4 to 8 times larger than my Jeep are there as close as my Jeep is to my home. Those vehicles are that close to my home and other homes, and all over Ottawa too. That's the point as well, and then all over the other cities within Canada. Taggart and these destruction companies, that they always follow suit with these cycles that we have within society where we adopt these 15-minute city models or whatever you want to call it. Like that's just like what people are calling it now. It's trendy, but this is stuff that I've been calling out for the last few years, saying that we're developing in Canada, and we're doing it using people that are willing to work in organized crime for money, right? I mean, I'm saying like just because they're making money doesn't mean that it's legal, right? There are drug dealers and prostitutes and escorts and stuff like that all over Canada and the world too. They're getting paid money, but they're still committing crimes, and so it just makes it organized crime, just to be clear. And so they're not out in reserves in or around those areas, and I've personally been in and around Indigenous people my entire life, and even went to the Yukon less than a year ago and was talking to people there, and I speak to people from the Yukon on a daily basis. I'm actually part of a channel called Patriotic Yukoners, and it's discussing the overdevelopment that's happening right now in Dawson City and in Whitehorse as well, and it's within suburbs, so family-oriented areas, typically more conservative in values and trends and voting trends and stuff like that. And this is where the areas that are more targeted, right? And so like Taggart, these destruction crews, they started occupying the suburbs, taking over our heritage sites, our dog trails, our churches, our cemeteries, our healing community centers, our parks, our fields, anything that where we could use for free, our national parks and wildlife preservation areas, all things that we were able to access for free, and that would increase our health and wellness and so many levels, and then build like communities. This is the stuff that they target, right? So Taggart, like these puppets that are criminals, they've been doing this now for like nonstop for at least 4 years during the pandemic, when people were forced to be locked down in these areas as well, unless they were vaccinated or or even if they weren't. By the way, there was in Ontario and Quebec, we were locked down, and even curfews implemented on people in Quebec. So that was Canada under very tyrannical measures, right? And then also people like me not being vaccinated to hold a line. Someone that has multiple vaccinations, I've said this so many different times, but I was not getting this one specifically because of the original trials that were coming out that I shared, that were edited within hours of me releasing and then trying to get again. But that's when I was starting to screen capture things and then save things on other drives, because then I realized that that there's a lot more cyber warfare going on and censorship than even I was prepared for it, but since have mitigated those issues. But yeah, so they're simulating war. So they're using vehicles that are larger than light armored vehicles in broad daylight, where you can see them and hear them from miles away anyways, and they're using these beep 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 beep, and I keep on, like, I'm simulating what I'm experiencing, but imagine that at beyond 100 decibels, so beyond safety limits, to be here. And so when motorcyclists are getting fines for their souped up mufflers or whatever you want to call it, like being too loud, or souped up trucks, like look at these guys, you know what I mean? And these are the people that are around our families and our children and stuff like that. And part of these organized crime rings and just people that are willing to do this. And so convoy operations, battle group, embarkation officer, live fire friggin' convoy ranges, working in and around like locals all over the friggin' world. Never once would we be approved to work this close for this extended amount of time as well? Close to humans and animals, and then also destroying the soil and the resources and trees in the process, and our culture and our heritage and our means to remember, again, our Canadian heritage and stuff like that. They keep on doing this stuff. It happens all the friggin' time. And so if people were locked in or forced in or resisting mandates, they're not able to work, because like for me, I have top secret government clearance. I only say that because I'm saying that because at that level, they should know better and should be listening to what I'm saying instead of like ghosting me. Or if people have a lower security level than me, which most people in the world do, then they should also be the ones probably listening to me, because maybe I know a little bit more about what I'm talking about. And I keep on saying this not because I think I'm anything special. I'm not. I'm saying this because this is just to give you an example of the people that are being censored, and the amount of work and effort I've tried even in my own life at risk to myself, and multi-million-dollar contracts being canceled on me and then telling me like to come back when I'm vaccinated. Again, these are all like even within like special forces groups internationally as well as within Canada. So impacting my work and me like holding the line again and then not getting vaccinated and or things like that. And then being forced to be home because of that, and then listening to men that were also like harassing me, and then also tried to break into my home, seeing me as a single female, a target of opportunity, on the record, police report made, and all of that stuff, and recorded it as well afterwards. And then the friend that I was talking to throughout can verify that. And this guy, again, he works with and around government, and is someone that is very like a reputable source, and not criminals. And a life of being of service. So again, like not a life of destroying resources and animals and psychologically and physically harming people on a literal daily basis. And then when we shared videos of it and or give them a hard time, like even just like poking fun, because like, again, there's a guy on this site, he's morbidly obese, white guy in his 20s. And he's the one that's like in a large 20-ton crane, literally causing so much excessive noise and damage and trauma and triggering and torturing people like me, who's been of service and who's been a war. They're simulating war, and they're right off my fucking ass every day, and damaged my home where my window was hanging off my wall for 7 months with a paracord. And I was begging them if they could please just like even just fix the window, because my insurance was giving me a hard time and delaying because they've been causing damage to a lot of other homes in the area. So window repairs were actually a big thing and still are, and looking into like the next year in order to be repaired. So this is Taggart, what they're doing. So this is what I'm reiterating. And any destruction companies that are working in and around families and city and suburbs in Canada, like this is part of the stuff. So like this, the loud noises, the vibrations, they're cracking our foundations. And then there's people that are in the cracked foundation business now too, and they work with these guys as well. So again, this is a business, and they're surging our electrical outlets on a constant basis and causing power outages and blackouts and wind damage, like I'm saying, and so many other things, and they're getting away with it. And they're also targeting and harassing the more vulnerable within societies when they see targets of opportunity. And I've even recorded them recording me in my own home, and then laughing, and then using those vehicles to actually abuse me and harass me specifically, even knowing that I was a combat veteran female that's been stalked and raped in my own home. All on the record stuff that I've said before in previous videos. And I don't say this to play the victim. I'm saying that this is stuff that I'm experiencing by actual criminals. And then when I address this or release stuff publicly, they actually get law enforcement men to come to my home and or call me to try to and completely lie about me. And all allegations and by Muppets, like no offense, and like not even a high school degree probably amongst all of them. And I don't mean to sound so bitter, but they killed my unborn baby illegally by doing criminal things close to homes. And when me personally, I've been in and around people as an infantry officer in a mechanized battalion and stuff like that, and would never do this stuff and know that it's wrong. It's really hard for me to like put up with actual crimes against humanity within my own country, and then knowing that they're doing it and causing these torture like and then fight or flight survival like reactions in people. It's just a lot, right? Because I saw that in Afghanistan. I saw what it did, and how quickly societies can collapse, and then how extremists can really just like again just cause so much harm for generations, right? Like look what's still in Afghanistan right now, and Venezuela and China and so many other areas because of overdevelopment. and even where my first cousin, who's just like a sister to me, and who's gone through a lot of friggin' stuff. Like she like almost lost her baby in India because of the poor health conditions in the areas that they were in, and so they left, not rich people at all, like work for like cell phone companies and stuff like that. Paid thousands of dollars extra just to get home back to Canada like a week earlier because like they thought their child was gonna die, and this is overwhelming. And it's because she's married to a guy from India, and they had a wedding to go to from his brother, and it was the right thing to do because it's like family, and then meeting everyone and seeing that aspect and following and respecting the cultural traditions and stuff like that, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's just unfortunate that happened, right? It's just unfortunate, and we're doing it in Canada, and that's the thing. And so when you have this morbidly obese white guy, that's in his 20s, when I'm saying like, look what you're doing, I'm like, you're doing exactly what we're calling the colonials, like what they did like in the 1500s, 1600s, and 1700s, and 1800s, and pushing indigenous people off of their land while they're exploiting them and raping them and all this other stuff. I'm like, haven't you learned? And he's like, I'm indigenous. And I'm like, cool. So you're not. And what tribe are you from? Doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, cool. So like not Micmac, not freaking like Algonquin, like, you know what I mean? And not Mohawk, or don't know what you're talking about. Like, and so this is what I mean, like mentally unwell people that are identifying as things that they're clearly not, and then getting away with it. And I'm saying like, and by the way, if you do identify as indigenous, learn the lessons. Like, you're acting like a colonial, and if you're actually indigenous person and this stuff was like literally happened to your families, where your women and children were raped and pillaged and exploited and pushed off their friggin' land and all that other stuff, and then doing it like gleefully and all this other stuff, I'm like, you're you're part of this, like, really? And for me, I've buried people overseas and at home in Canada. And for people like that who are identifying as unicorns or whatever else, you know what I mean? It's just like people need to tell them to, like, no, you're not, right? Just like if you identify as a unicorn or a Santa Claus or as a Ninja Turtle, like, no, you're not. If you're 18 and over, like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm sorry for saying that, and that's why also, like, I get stressed out. I'm like, that's the type of person that's operating these heavy, like, machines, that's chronically triggering people, and I'm showing swing sets and stuff like that they're like off of, and they're laughing and like, and I'm like, cool. And these are also the people. It reminds me of the example. I'm rambling, but just a few months ago, there was a man that identified as a trans woman, but was fully like a large, strong, fit-looking man, and on a podcast and stuff like that. So like posts videos and stuff like that, and actually posted this video. So and I'll try to get the name, but like, just, you could probably freaking Google it and find it yourself too. But go on DuckDuckGo and Brave, and go on secure websites and get a virtual private network and connect on different IP addresses and stuff like that. But anyways, this guy that identifies as a trans woman, it is what it is. Things are getting a little bit extreme is what I'm saying, and I do have people that I know personally who do identify as trans, and I do respect that, and then I do call them what they want to be called, and I've helped them with their personal training, with their diet plans for free, all of this stuff, because I do like offer support, right? And it's also the right thing to do. And but this person was bragging because, like, I guess there was a mom that had 4 kids, single mom, divorced, 4 kids to take care of, and she had made a post or a comment or something like that was against like this person's views. And because of that, like he was even bragging about it, or she was even bragging about it, saying like that they called law enforcement and lied about her and like exaggerated things, like made all these bogus claims, to the point where like cops, like multiple cops in SUVs with firearms and tasers and like all of that stuff, went into the home, didn't even look or research or corroborate any of the evidence to substantiate anything. It was all based on allegations from a trans woman, and who, if you looked at like videos and stuff like that, was like, you could clearly see was a very dramatic person, even just by virtue of their social media posts and stuff like that. And so also someone like, probably should be like verifying their claims towards, and made these allegations that this woman was like dragged out like in handcuffs, and her children traumatized and watching this. And this guy actually had like the footage of this stuff happening and actually posted it and was bragging about it and literally admitted that he embellished and made that shit up. And like, that's what happens, mess with me, you know what I mean? And this is the stuff that's happening, right? Like, so even me, when I showed a video yesterday, like the first video I ever posted regarding Taggart and what they're doing on the site, I was talking about them exploiting the resources and wasting them and putting them in landfills and dump sites that used to be national parks, and closing them off to the public for people like me to like walk and have health, and escape the noise with my animals and stuff like that, and then not even being allowed to do that because of, again, these like mentally unstable people that are committing crimes on a daily basis all over Ottawa, within the family areas, destroying the green spaces all over Canada and all over the US and stuff like that, as part of the socialist agenda that keeps working, and when they push people out, especially families out, and bring in more workers or international students, and or people that don't have families or won't fight for the families and or consider families, and would rather exploit families, and because of what they're used to and just what they come from, then it's the societal degrade, and it's I'm getting an international call, so I'm just gonna decline it because it's distracting. Yeah, and when I've seen it firsthand in countries where I've seen like little girls that were like 8 years old that were literal acid burn victims, and I was on a patrol like just outside of DDC, so like in the Blonde area, and then the interpreter, like I didn't know what she was saying because it is what it is, so we had an interpreter with us, but she was looking at me and she was saying that I was beautiful. And she was like fully like acid burn victim, and she was asking if I could help her, and I was like I wasn't able to, you know what I mean? That would be like obviously having to like it's make her leave her home and stuff like that, but like she wouldn't even be like considered marriageable anyways, and with some men, because like she was really badly burned, and 8 years old probably is so little. It was just, and then you feel powerless over these things, especially as a woman. And like she was complimenting me, she thought I was so beautiful, wanting to touch my hair and stuff like that too, and like my eyes, just because it's different than what she's used to, I guess. And I like not able to help. That's just like another example of stuff that you see that is just, I don't know. Where was I going with that? I'm usually able to like manage this stuff more, but it's just with like when there's chronic noise and stuff like that, that simulates war and noise torture that I've gone through because of service, doing contact after capture training and stuff like that. All really good stuff that I teach and recommend people take. But it just, yeah, it's just been like 4 years nonstop, right? So I'm just exhausted, and it's just been a lot. And they keep on like pushing me down, or trying to anyways, like when I'm trying to share like an accurate, important message with people. And that's not even like work related. This is all stuff like that I've seen that's been ongoing now for the last few years, and I'm trying to speak out on it and address it. And when I do that, I'm getting lied about. So like this video that I'm talking about, where like the first video I posted, I was walking literally from my home on the sidewalk and then back, and Taggart, the supervisor, he was in the yellow and the black video that I posted again yesterday on Facebook, posted almost a year ago now, and he called the cops on me for that video and lied about me and the timestamp. So like within hours of me posting that video too, the cops had called me and were making allegations, and I'm like, where's that coming from? And then I even said, I'm like, I just posted the video a few hours ago. You could take a look for yourself, the interaction that I had that they're talking about, because I literally was walking from my house and then back and didn't afterwards or anything like that. And there's surveillance on all the lampposts, like I said, so you can verify that for yourself. And it was overwhelming, right? Because I'm like, what the hell? This was a grown-ass man. He was a head supervisor of Taggart, and he was in his 50s, and he was laughing and smirking when he was watching me the whole time. And there are men, by the way, that I have recorded. There was like multiple men in a sinkhole on a public road on Maple Grove that they damaged, destroyed, because they're only in vehicles. They're not walking sites and doing actual real labor. That's why their men are morbidly obese and being heated in vehicles. They're using these vehicles parked that's vibrating even vibrating and shaking our foundations. And they're on their cell phones and stuff like that, and eating burgers and stuff like that, and not even doing work and getting outside their vehicles, or even just leaving it shut off. Just shut it off. It's also great for the environment to do that, you know what I mean? And just put a jacket on if you're cold. Like, it's just like annoying, because like soldiers, like I've done advanced winter warfare training, like and stuff like that, as well as been exposed to the environments. Like I've done like multiple ultra marathons, like all through like the friggin' the trails. I've done the West Coast Trail, Conquer the Canuck, the Death Race, the Sinister Seven. And being exposed to the environments, and I've just seeing men do this stuff, it's just frustrating to me as well. And then if we poke fun at it, they call the cops, because they consider that to be, I don't know, like too much for them to take. So I'm not only dealing with physically weak men on a regular basis who are harassing and torturing me, but also. Anyway, I'm going on all these tangents. But it impacts a lot of people, is what I'm saying. So like I see this stuff happening in Afghanistan, and I see that it's being pushed here at an alarming rate, and stuff like causes societies to collapse within years. it just it's something that I feel compelled and I need to speak out on, right? And so like even though I'm dealing with like mentally unstable people, I get it. I've been threatened by them. I've been targeted. I've been harassed. They tried to break into my home. Don't know what they wanted to do after that. You know, two grown ass men again in construction vests, and then circle my block. It's all recorded, and even in the moment, I have people that can verify this for over 2 hours circling my block and then off my fence recording me and stuff like that, and then using these vehicles to harass me. Where even like the first day that I was able to put my house on the market because of the repairs that were finally done, the damage that they caused, they actually had one guy in a large crane, like just on backing on my fence alone, and I showed the entire area, the entire heritage site, and he was literally just on my, and he was laughing, and I showed it, and so like I didn't get any offers like that. They said that the house was beautiful and everything like that, but it was just the noise, and it was overwhelming. That they even parked that one vehicle there for weeks and nowhere else in any other house. And so even when people were walking into my home to see my home, that's what they were seeing. They were seeing a huge crane that was the size of a house outside my house only. And then if they looked to the left and right or anywhere else, they would have not seen any other vehicles. And this is all on the record, unfortunately. And so this is where I'm saying like that we're getting grown ass men that are actually like exploiting and victimizing women, as they're also chronically torturing them with vehicles that they're using on them. And it's just blowing my mind. I just want to go down my list and start. Now that they're like further away, just because like the cops are more involved, they're now going to be more in the center, not by our fences, just because it's going to look bad. And so they love to do that stuff as well. So let me just see here to go down the list for like stuff that I may have been missing. So like the Capitol Hill riots, I was saying right from the beginning, and even months before it happened, that there was like this white supremacist push that's agenda that's being perpetuated by leaders, but also by the media like Discovery Channel, and by people like Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and all these people. And I'm saying it's going to cause this is always things that exacerbate like events to happen and causes more harm and all this stuff. And literally within months of me addressing this and speaking out of this, even with the Discovery Channel, there was that Capitol riot, right? And they were staging and planning and rehearsing it for weeks. And Ray Epps, like the FBI guy, like they showed videos of him too, like trying to incite violence, whispering in men's ears and saying like, go over there, like again, like trying to like exploit people to cause more harm. And then I also just showed more videos too, again, because I was deleted and censored, of like people that are clearly government that were the ones that actually broke the windows and stuff like that, like to gain entry into the Capitol. And it's being recorded, and the guy like showing like the earpiece. It's clear to me that this is a trained person, unfortunately someone that's on the wrong side of history and on the wrong side of the law, and just needs to be called out, unfortunately, and not to punish, but to be held accountable and possibly prison for trying to incite a riot when you're in government, supposed to be doing the opposite of that. Clearly, you know what I mean? And nuts to even have to say out loud. So I shared that video again and showed that was staged and planned. And then even the shamanic freedom guy that was wearing that the horns and stuff like that, and looked like Braveheart. He was talking about freedom. He was escorted peacefully. He didn't have a weapon. He was like holding the flag, and they lied about that being perceived as a weapon. But the cops, I shared that video as well, walking behind him, escorting him, even opening up doors for him, trying to like open locked doors even, and then him thanking them, and like in the middle of the floor within the Capitol, and praying and blessing and thanking the law enforcement for being so kind and stuff like that. And he got 4 years prison for that. And a guy that was like duped and manipulated into playing that role, and then used as a fall guy to make it look like there was like this huge like riot, you know, that was like overwhelming and stuff like that. They were liars, and they knew it, and they were tipped off, and they knew that this was going to be happening that day and all that other stuff too. And it's just gross stuff. And then even Nancy Pelosi, I'm going to punch Trump in the face. Like, who says that, lady? Again, like, and first of all, like, you're a weak beta psycho, and why are you threatening people with physical violence like that? Like, you're gonna punch someone in the face. And this is what I mean. Even like these weak guys behind my house, I've never once threatened them, and I would never say something like that even. And they're literally harassing me and then trying to like paint me as a friggin' villain when I would never even dream of saying something like that, which is literally just like what the Speaker of the friggin' House literally said on a video about a man. And she didn't get any fucking cops called on her, or like cops like swarming her friggin' house like with like 4 kids, you know, and just nuts. It's like opposite world. So, and that's what was going to be happening here. So just before the Freedom Convoy came, for weeks I was saying that, guys, this is coming. It's staged and planned at the highest level by extreme leftists, and that's why there's anonymous donors and stuff like that that are also funding this stuff, and they also have their own crisis and riot actors like Brian Fox from Enterprise, who was the one that was wearing the balaclava and that Nazi flag or racist flag or whatever it was that first weekend, and then I also showed the videos and footage of him with the RCMP and other government people that are on the wrong side and media people that are on the wrong side. They're bad, they're mean, but also going up like the parliamentary stairs. And so clearly, like, people that were also working with Justin Trudeau, and so was his photo guy. And this was a staged and planned event. They were trying to make it look or try to incite a riot at the Capitol. And that's why I had went there that first weekend. And even knowing that there was a friggin' girl that got shot, a friggin' veteran at the friggin' Capitol, and just being duped, right? So being like led into like her own friggin' death, like crazy stuff. And then also and being peaceful and stuff like that, but then also knowing that these crazy people can lie and mislead and paint people to be completely different things, and then knowing I was already getting like censored and blocked and monitored and stuff like that. It was like, but having to lead from the front, even for myself, knowing the friggin' risks and trying to call out these riot actors and for myself, and seeing this stuff for myself too. And then getting the footage out there, and then again leading from the front, and then organizing speakers, even veterans, to speak like at the convoy peacefully and assist and help with the mission and the block parties and stuff like that. And then also dealing with people that were part of Black Lives Matter and Antifa that were destroying brake lines, causing violence. They were the ones that they were saying that 911 was called a lot. It was on the people that were these extremists that were going against the Freedom Convoy peaceful protesters, all proven truthful and exposed after the fact. And so like even Marco Mendicino, can confirm this stuff, because even during the cabinet hearings and stuff like that, he was finally exposed. He was lying again, and then a guy finally spoke up. He's like, "You're a liar." The cops and everything like that, like literally, and it's actually the opposite of what you're saying. And he's saying like, "I have to speak up." He's like, because this is harming more people. And he doesn't care. Like, and this is what I mean. There's so many morally and physically corrupted people that are in cabinet right now within Canada. And they're not courageous enough to just be peaceful and just speak out on things, you know what I mean? Like, and just like back it up with actual proof too, like I've been doing repeatedly. Like, and it was like now Seymour Hersh, like he's back in the media saying that like Nord Stream 2 like explosion was like NATO, and I was saying that right from the beginning too. And it's just like, where am I, like I'm getting so not supported. And anytime I even try to get truth out there, there's a lot of, like, no offense, little guys out there that are getting millions of friggin' views and subscribers and millions of dollars in contracts and all this stuff and work all over the friggin' world. And I'm sitting here giving like literally the most accurate friggin' information and stuff like that too. And when I try to share this with people, I'm getting vilified, character assassinated, lied about, threatened, so I'm just hoping that God, he's seeing all this stuff and, you know, he's got my back. And because I only care what God thinks. So yeah, even Susan Rosenberg, she was an extreme leftist, like multiple explosions and bombs and threats within the U.S. and even like a bomb threat or explosion at the Capitol Hill, at the Washington Capitol, as well. And then she was acquitted by Bill Clinton, a Democrat. It's so interesting stuff. An extreme leftist acquitted by a Democrat, and part of like someone that was perpetuating and pushing extreme leftist views and ideologies and all this other stuff. And all interesting correlations and connections that we can make on all these things. And so the real work that I've been actually trying to do, but that has been interrupted by like this socialist 15-minute community model that is going to have like 100% control over its people, and it's not going to be families, because there's no farms, there's no agriculture, there's no places for pets, there's no trails, community centers, healing gardens, like you name it, sports fields. Nope. Can't have anything where we can like do things on our own or for free, or that doesn't require electricity. Can't have that. And they're surging our electrical flows, so they're going to also be tracking and monitoring and policing our electricity flow and internet connections and stuff like that, just like so many other countries when they start getting overdeveloped. yeah, so it's like I keep on saying like follow the yellow brick road, and I talk about how in Santa Fe or like California, right up to like Chicago, there Route 66, the original route, like that's it goes through like various different states and stuff like that, and how like the yellow paintings like on the road, it looks like bricks in some places, but like obviously like now there's probably like it's full yellow or white or whatever you want to call it, whatever painting they're doing now for roads, but it used to be yellow brick. And so like I was wondering like and so like Alice in Wonderland, the author of that, he was a Freemason and he was also a confirmed pedophile, and so he was also in and around like the guy that built Route 66. And I shared that information as well, and you can look at this as well and like look and so I follow the yellow brick road and stuff like that. So like when he's discussing like Alice in Wonderland and using that and then using yellow bricks on his roads, it kind of like makes you think like, does he know about what this guy's doing and in his own time, and like why is he referencing this guy's like biggest hits? You know what I mean? When he's a confirmed pedophile and the history of Alice like has to do with like this guy like with this family that he befriended because of like the children and this one young girl named Alice and all these sexual urges and desires that he had. And anyway, and so like is this part of that? And this Route 66, like, there's Route 66s and Highway 66s all over the world, even in Canada. And so like this Route 66 ends at Chicago and at the at Lake Michigan, and then the Great Lakes connect as well, right? Like even in Lake Ontario and Erie and Superior and Huron and stuff like that, there's like shipping and access routes that people that use for shipments and stuff like that within the Great Lakes and stuff like that. And also with Ohio, with what just happened there's probably issues with that as well. The water anyway, so I'm going on all these tangents. But then it also like there's a like Route 66 and in Route 6 also there's a Route 6s and then there's 66s or 6 norths or 6 wests or 666. These are all possibly like universal numbering systems, coding systems that certain groups use to get around saying what they actually want to say, and using those routing systems and those numbering systems. Again, this could have been in the past too, right? Because these guys are old, like the guys I'm talking about, these Freemasons, they're all long dead by now, right? And so could be something that has already been. But again, I also know within like the work that I do, working with the people that I do, that there is an increase in human trafficking and child abductions and harm against children, and we're covering it up more. So even Helen Bruce, I was trying to say that, was suspended Ottawa Police Services because she was trying to expose, not even expose, she was trying to like address the fact that there was 28 children that died, and there was the allegations that this was possibly vaccine induced because it was right around the time that they got vaccinated, they died, and she was trying to push this out up to even Chief Peter Slowey, who was the chief of police at the time, and didn't want to have any of this, and she was suspended and stuff like that, and character assassinated and threatened and all this stuff, and instead of being attributed as being a hero. And a friend I know personally, she had at least 20 years in the military because she joined when I did, so she was in her late 30s when the pandemic started. And then when they were forcing the inoculations on people within the military, she was pregnant, and she was like, I can't take this because of all she was sharing the science. I was sharing the science of the miscarriages and the original trials and all of these things, and how there was like a lot of like spontaneous abortions and stuff like that within the groups, but they weren't classifying it as deaths because the babies weren't born yet, right? So like that's why even with people for abortions that you can technically abort a baby inside you even at 9 months if it hasn't gone outside the womb yet. Then that baby can be terminated, and they wouldn't even classify that as a death. And it just blows my mind still. Oh, this stuff. And they're saying, well, we're already populated. We're not overpopulated. We're not. And I hate to say that. And who's saying this, right? And where are you getting your stats and your science when I'm also showing you, and people even like Elon Musk is saying like the same thing. And there are places that are overpopulated, but it's because of the rules and the measures that they put in place that were part of like a communist socialist model. It just doesn't work, right? The more control that you put on a society, like the more issues you're going to have. And the further away it's going to be from like the natural design and coding. So for China, for example, they have like billions of people. They're overpopulated. They're the ones that attempted population control even decades ago, where there was only one child that could be born. And then what happened? Most people were choosing boys. Why? Because of physical and manual labor. Because in that society, like men were considered people and women generally weren't, and or like couldn't own property, or weren't like billionaires, or weren't in like the tech businesses or the STEM fields and all these things. So like not like so a lot of women were getting aborted, and I even shared videos of nurses within China that even admitted that they were even killing infants even after they were born, because because the families already had a child and stuff like that. All that like crazy things, right? These are actual friggin' murders, and these were stuff that happened because they were population control. And so we need to address this. And like, oh well, that's okay, but then what happened? 70 million men now within like family age now that are in these huge high rises and condos and apartment complexes, miserable, living alone, virgins, and or like deviant, possibly perverted like sexual desires because of like porn and stuff like that, and like and all this other stuff that goes with that, and then being isolated and like not having support networks and stuff like that. Like this is all just stuff that leads to like mental decline and spiritual decline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're suffering and or trying to leave that environment, and then there's women that are coming in from like North Korea and other areas that are being used as sex slaves, children as well. Yeomni, Yeomni Parks, she was able to escape North Korea through China, directly like can talk about like the sex trafficking business and stuff like that, with an exploitation of children and stuff like that, all of this stuff. And I've shared her work as well. And this is stuff that happens when we have like more overdeveloped societies where there's more control from the government, and then they want to like push population control because like there's money in that as well, right? There's money in abortions, there's money in the pills, there's money in like all of that stuff, and in the fear, and then there's money in like a multiple like single men and women, and or like living alone, like just as being used as workers, or just being like exploited. Like it's like farms almost. It's just overwhelming to watch this. Like I'm looking at my house right now. I'm looking at the back of my house. I'm like looking at like this happening like literally on a daily basis. Oh yeah, and the chronic whistle blasts and the loud noises and stuff like that. This is also like further like reinforces coercion and people's willingness like to submit and do things that they wouldn't necessarily do because they're in a fight or flight survival mode. Even like and they're like, oh, but they should look outside and realize they're not in war. It doesn't matter. Like just the sounds and the feelings and the vibrations for anyone. These are the things that simulate war, because it's the same exposures to it, right? Like it may not be the same level of danger or threat, but it doesn't matter because there's already a threat observed. And so like you can't further scare an already scared individual, right? Like if that makes any sense. Like they're like and so they're already triggering that. And then the brain development within fetuses, like as the brain develops, hearing the beep beep beep, and then like the foundation's shaking. And so like next week when they do the grading and stuff like that, they're gonna be like impacting like all the children in this area, their development, absolutely. And this is gonna be chronic. It's already chronic. And then also the elderly, the disabled. I have like a white truck right now that's like driving. He just parked and he's like blacked out like windows. Yeah. And so like, hi. And the reason why my curtains are open is because first of all, it's my home and I pay for it. And that is my backyard still. And it's for lighting as well, so for my videos. But anyways, it is what it is. And so like I shouldn't have to like not only flee my house every single day to get away from this stuff at a cost to myself with my dogs, but then also like when I am in my house, like just be like in a friggin' fetal position and stuff like that, like like every single day because of all this stuff. But anyway, it's all related, and that's why like I talk about all this stuff. Convoys related to the Capitol riots, and then you have people that are leaders that are still saying that people like Tucker Carlson are a threat to humanity and liars. He's not a liar about this stuff. He's showing proof, and they don't like that. So when I'm sharing like actual law enforcement lifting up barricades and allowing people to come into the Capitol, and like they're all like laughing and smiling and joking, and then there's groups of people just walking almost like it's a guided tour, literally that. And then people are saying like, oh, I was afraid for my life. Show the videos. And I was even saying like even on this heritage site, there's surveillance on the heritage site in every single lamppost. And by the way, China, by the way, is also surveilling us. That was the whole point. And I shared that as well. These 15-minute smart cities, CSIS, they're friggin' awesome. Most of them. But again, there's some people that are on the wrong side, but it is what it is. Money can sway a lot of people, clearly. But like exposing this stuff and then showing that like these smart cities or whatever you want to call it, like the buzzwords are what they're building. There's outside influence and surveillance that is treasonous, and it's overreach, and it's because like these companies and or countries don't have the same policies and or rules and regulations as Canadians do, and they don't care to follow them, and they just pay the fines if there's any fines that come out, and or they get people they'll threaten or intimidate people and do it that way. And so many lawyers, again, like they say it's a conflict of interest because there's money in real estate and this industry, and working with these destruction companies because it's like a multi-million-dollar friggin' like a organized crime ring that's been happening all over the world now for hundreds of years, and even larger equipment than that have been used in the past as well, that have even shown, like when you see like the quarries that have been mined even in Gaspé, like in Murdochville and stuff like that, but even on the coast, and these huge windmills and stuff like that could have only been built and created like that by like huge large cranes, and then who's operating them, like what size are these people. I've showed proof that we're lied to even about like the demographics and the ethnicities and stuff like that of the people that have been here during certain periods and resets and cycles, and how that there were people of all skin colors and eye colors and shapes and sizes throughout history as well, and it's also based on the environment that we're exposed to. So if it's Universe 25, this is what this is. Oh my God, I keep on forgetting to say that, but it's in my title of my video. So this socialist model, it's Universe 25. So this cookie cutter transhumanist model that we adopt, whenever it's implemented in reality, it turns out really friggin' bad for everyone, and it's happening. And how to prove this? Look at the stats now with law enforcement at all levels and government at all levels. I look at the stats and how, like, in the increases and the trends of transhumanism. I'm talking about AI and stuff like that as well. So like using like bots and robots and cyber warfare and things like that as well. So like when I say transhumanism, I'm not talking about trans people. I'm saying like overall, like and based on transhumanism, like being about the individual and not looking out for the collective as well for so many different reasons, and why that happens and because I'm looking at behavioral models of the demographics of the people that are operating in these areas as well. And so yeah, there's a lot to unpack, and that's why, like, I really wish that Marco Mendicino would stop lying and being a psychopath, and Chrystia Freeland too, psychopath, or it's coming across that way. And I do have advanced interview and interrogation courses as well, and advanced psychology courses, complex trauma, like stuff that I teach, and just like patterns I'm seeing and stuff like that, and the stuff that I'm getting on Signal and Telegram is leading me to believe. And again, like, if they don't know that they're criminals, that's fair, because like intent really is like for me like a big factor in anything that's being done. So even with these people like that are behind my house actually destroying our resources and our land and gonna be like pushing this model exacerbated at alarming rates, I feel, because like they're identifying as things that they're not and stuff like that, and like I think they're just so I don't know, like completely in the black, because I've tried to have conversations with these people, and because I'm speaking loud, trying to speak over vehicles, they're like, oh, you're yelling. I'm like, then shut the vehicle off. I don't want to yell over your vehicles either, but I have to do that when I'm trying to make phone calls as well, and when I'm trying to do Zoom sessions like for work and or for volunteering with Discovery University as a facilitator, which I've done for many years before the pandemic and beyond, which can be confirmed with the director and stuff like that as well. But also like my online schooling, I'm not even able to do online exams and studies and stuff like that because I was resisting mandates and all that other stuff to be a good person. My intent was coming from a good place, and then that being completely friggin' disrupted because of these, I don't know, puppets. Ugh. So yeah, and maybe it's just like blissful ignorance, because like if they realize what they've been doing on a regular basis now for years of their lives, and then they would understand that they're, from our perspective, you know what I mean, they look like really evil human beings, and like I am a not fearing, but I'm a God believer. I don't fear God. I do believe that there's a higher creator. An engineer of sorts that created this beautiful earth plane, this multi-dimensional simulated reality that's that's being projected on a flat plane of inertia, and I've got multiple like scientific, medical, and government data points that can prove all of this stuff. I have terabytes worth of data to show this stuff, and anything that I have been saying, if I've ever been incorrect, I've always come back and said that was wrong and then removed that stuff. And or 99.99% of the time is what I'm saying is I've been on the money. Like this guy's looking at me as he's driving by, like, and if I go out, see, like, it even makes me, like, I just burped a little bit. Like, this causes me, like, literal digestion issues, and it's not something I'm making up. Unfortunately, I'm just giving you the reality, and I burped, and I just didn't mean to. I'm saying why. Like, this shows, like, the, like, how much they trigger women and people like that. Like, just over small things like that, like, little things like that. It's right behind my home, and I bought here because there were thousands of trees that were behind my home on this beautiful heritage site, and there were beautiful, like, lilac bushes too, and they smelled so good, and there was turtles, and there were so many birds, and there was actually like squirrels that would actually play with my cat, and would greet my cat and would greet me and stuff like that every friggin' day. This black squirrel, and I've shared this on previous videos and stories, and I haven't seen him around as much, and I try to put out food for the birds and the animals and the rabbits that used to come, and oh yeah, and a lot of rabbits too. Like they're just, and the trees, millions of trees being shredded in Ontario, literally just one province, in the last 4 years alone, in the suburbs and on the outskirts of suburbs, on heritage sites and national parks and trails, as they were pretending that they were closed to us, because they also rent signs to us at a cost to taxpayers, and they use those signs to say that, like, trespassing or do not enter or whatever like that, when it's like mentally unstable people sometimes that are actually putting those out there because they think that they can do whatever they want, and they're actually ruining families, events and gatherings, and or people that have, like, dogs, and or people that want to escape the constant destruction that they're seeing like from their homes on a regular basis, and they can't even escape, right? And so this is what I mean. This is like psychological torture tactics that are used, and it's to make people submit and just like want to be controlled. Like, just, yes, like, I need a relief from this. Like, what do I need to do, like to not experience this? And it's by perverted people. So the people I'm talking about, like, that work in and around these groups that follow the Yellow Brick Road, like, right now it's leading me to believe that they're more like these occult groups. There's literal play-by-plays that I've seen, like, from like male pedophiles that have talked about how they would take over countries and stuff like that, and it would be starting with the young boys, because once you traumatize young boys and give them that trauma, like, where like a man dominates the young boy, that's the biggest trauma that could be incurred. And so like that's the whole, like, lion, like Alice in Wonderland, like the lion, like piece there, like make a like a brave person like a coward and make them think that it's virtuous. Like, that's like a very, very dangerous thing. And then and there's other, like, tactics that they employ, but the Alice in Wonderland psychology is actually being employed on us by literal disgusting criminals. And when I'm sharing even 4 mayors within the last 2 years alone that have been charged, so confirmed child pornography and pedophile charges, like even recent ones against them, and a certain demographic that seems to be where, like, it's 86% of pedophiles come from that demographic, that it just needs to be more considered, right? And so, like, people like Jim Watson, clearly, like, in and around those groups. So did he know about this? Was he told about this? Was he around this stuff? And he just like stepped down just a few months ago. So, like, he has been, like, he was 10 years a part of this trans model that was being pushed on us, and approving all the city plans, approving all of the stuff to be done to destroy, like, the family dynamic, and him also, like, a person that clearly was targeting and attacking the family structure. So Jim Watson and Kathleen Wynne, they are both, and this is not to target them or anything like that, or divide, because I also have friends that are homosexual that are great people, and they're family-oriented people, and they're married, and they have kids, and they're good people, and there's zero perversion at all. Great friggin' parents, but we also have to call out the perverted people, or the possibilities where it's there, when they're showing within their, like, when there's other city councilors and or security people that are saying that they've witnessed and exposed crimes happening with these leaders like Kathleen and Wynne and Jim Watson and just because it's on their own time, but by events and stuff like that that are funded by taxpayers, so not on their own time at all, and even on their personal time, they're still on our time because they're getting paid for it. So even me, when I was a public servant, and I still am, for me, it's like doesn't matter if I'm in uniform or not. Like I'm still representing Canada and Canadians and things, and or coming from like even if I'm like speaking loudly at people, like I'm doing that as a leader and as someone to service of Canada, and I'm speaking on behalf of Canadians, if that makes any sense. And so anyway, and so intent. And because of that, like Justin Trudeau wants to prorogue government again. That gets done a lot when people are trying to like not be held accountable for crimes and or cover-ups and censorship and allowing people like literally from China not to isolate China, but I'm giving them as an example. They have law enforcement bases within Canada now that have been surveying us illegally now for years. That's just finally coming out. Great work though, because it does take a lot of information and proof and data to be compiled before you actually can release this stuff, because it's huge implications, and this is stuff that causes wars, right? So like again with CSIS, they're doing a friggin' great job, and they're field team people. Like I know people personally that have worked with CSIS, that even like special forces backgrounds and stuff like that too. So like they friggin' have really good people in all levels of government that, again, it takes time, unfortunately, to try to get this stuff together. And sometimes they don't even get access to this information. So it's a good job too, right? Because this is a cyber friggin' war and people are really good at this, and it still works in a lot of countries, right? So like if we can actually get on top of this, we will be the literal first friggin' country in the friggin' world in any cycle, I think, that I know of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that ever like started the Universe 25 and was actually able to get out of it. If we could friggin' do that as Canadians, like that would literally put us on the friggin' map for the people that literally are like we got our shit together. Because like this is all a lot of outside influence is what I'm saying too, that's pushing this, and we're getting puppets that are implementing it, and it keeps on working and stuff like that. So like let's make it not work. And so CSIS is working on this. Hopefully Global Affairs Canada, even though Global Affairs, not a globe, just change the name again. They have good people working in there as well, and then obviously the special forces, like everyone I friggin' know that I work with and around, like they were and are like amazing operator types and all that stuff. Sorry, I'm so distracted by this stuff, but it's but even like the noises, it's like imagine having like an air horn or something like that, like in your ear if you're trying to like write an email for work or for school or do like an exam or something like that. It's just even with headphones, like when like everything's shaking too and I still hear it, it's just hard. It would be hard for anyone, and this is what I'm saying. Like people are like, oh, you're just like what? I'm sharing this stuff with you just to show you like what I've been dealing with and what other people here have been dealing with. And because of people like Jim Watson and Kathleen Wynne and Glenn Gower approving this stuff, and Mark Flowers, who was like city government, whose forestry department is one that approved this, and I have his email address if people want it, but it's Mark Flowers from the government forestry department. He was the one that approved all the shredding of the trees. So maybe he's provincial wide. So maybe it's not even just Stittsville area. Maybe he is the one that we need to arrest and jail for all of that stuff, and then also clearly the crimes against humanity piece, because like millions of trees, that in itself, with all the damage that has been caused and the fires and the power outages, like even during extreme temperatures, like Mark Flowers, man, butterfly effect, buddy. And I shared all the friggin' proof and the videos and the old world stuff and like the ancient tree stuff and like all of that stuff and ghosted me. And I'm like, where's my money? You're getting paid to destroy Canada. I'm not getting paid. I'm actually getting the opposite of that. And I'm trying to like speak out on behalf of Canada. And okay, this is where I'm coming from. Yeah, because it's all connected. And the victim's always gonna try to play the villain's always gonna try to play the victim, right? Like this, and that's why I have everything recorded. And that's why even yesterday, yet again, these psychopaths, they killed my unborn child. They have in completely 100% them, 100% facts. I went damaged my home, where for 7 months, like I was further hearing the excessive chronic noise outside of my window before 7 a.m. And I recorded that as well. So like also like committing crimes, because even at 6:30 a.m. and even 5 a.m. I'm showing the videos. I'm not yelling at them. I'm showing the videos. It's going nowhere. And so, and this is what I'm not getting. So yesterday when I'm recording and saying like, why are you guys doing that with a 20-ton vehicle meters away from homes and a friggin' bus stop? And by the way, you just impeded a school bus, and and that's on my video from yesterday. But anyway, that got the cops called on me. So they came to my house again. They were really amazing, really attractive friggin', I hope if they're single, like anyway. But like that was the first time that any cops actually even listened to me, but they still didn't look at any of the videos. And I was saying they're like, but what about today? I'm like, okay, well today, like, do you want today? Do you want yesterday? 6:30 a.m. So for 7 a.m. is the bylaw regulation. So like that's a crime. I don't want to see that though, because again, if they see that, then it's like now they have to investigate them, and they run away from that stuff. And I'm like, no, come back. And that's why I'm like, why are they trying to even call the cops? Because if they come here, I'm gonna be offering them all the friggin' videos and proof that I've compiled for the last 4 years with witnesses, and I'm like, I'm gonna be giving them that, and so why are you doing like? It's just this is what I mean. Like, it's just like that trans woman, sorry, that like literally lied about a friggin' woman because she was more conservative in values and didn't like that, right? So like literally need to like lie about and get law enforcement involved. Oh my God, I just like with 4 kids watching this and like crying like, Mommy, like freak the frig out. And like, what is she thinking? Like, and then, you know what? I'm here for it. No, I don't. Well, you this, and this. And she's like, what? You know, like obviously like friggin' triggered and stressed out because like clearly friggin' being lied about. Kids to protect. Like she's gonna be leaving. Who's watching those kids, by the way, now that she's outside of her home? So even for me, if these guys lied about me and those guys believed it, who's gonna watch my animals? Who's gonna take care of the disabled people that I also take care of on a regular basis? Like even donating to like wilderness retreats to be of service to people that have hard lives and jobs, to get them like in wilderness areas to escape stress, right? Like, and I'm getting vilified and character assassinated and targeted in the friggin' process. Yeah. I just keep on saying yeah. Yeah. So even with like the bigger and smaller people that I'm talking about, like that have inhabited multiple different countries over multiple different eras, if you look at a lot of artifacts and museums and places, I've been in museums and monuments and infrastructure all over the world, galleries and stuff like that, and churches and palaces and mosques and mountains and friggin' national parks, literally all over the world. And if you look at like some of the stuff too, right, like it's in plain sight. Like you'll see, like even in Egypt, you'll see like sun worship stuff as well as like religious stuff, like in multiple different like differences, like subtle differences within the works, and or you can see there's been like stuff covered up and or like repainted on, and like so we're being like kind of like misled about the history as well, and in a lot of areas, and then you see like hieroglyphs and petroglyphs and stuff like that, and sarcophaguses even within North America, and that stuff that's even been hidden from us. And so like more proof of like more ancient, more advanced civilizations and races and species based on like more healthy environments and living conditions and stuff like that, or even like bracelets and arm, you know, jewelry and stuff like that that people had. It's large, right? So like it's showing like a mummy, like if you're opening up a sarcophagus or a coffin, originally, to start, and you open it for the first time in like, let's say thousands of years or hundreds of years, and then you see the bones and like and the decayed body, and you also see like these large bracelets and jewelry. You could see obviously that it makes sense, like that like since you haven't touched it, like if things are on the arms, it would like they fit on the arms, and then you're seeing like these large bracelets, right, with huge friggin' like jewelry and these things that are on people in areas, and it's like these people were a lot more advanced and or larger than we're being led to believe, and so anyway, and using more advanced energy techniques and capabilities and more free energy that was more healing and not as inflammatory, just like Tesla like has tried to bring up, and see, and even with this like flat earth plane stuff. So even with the electricity surges, and my points to this as well is like, look at Eric Dubay, look at Alex Gleason, look at David Weiss, look at so many friggin' like scientists, and then look at my work as well, and books that I've shared, before you start like dismissing this because it's just too much science. But anyway, So electricity is being it's being derived because of ground towers and fiber optic cables and the elements that they're using to conduct electrical dielectricity and magnetism with electrical currents. And they need to have poles, or they use poles. This is a business in that too. So the guys that own like the poles and own the wires and the copper and the elements and the minerals that are being used to put in these like electrical grid systems, these electrical grid community models, making us overly reliant on electricity. This is the business, right? Like, these are the people that are aligned with all of the other stuff. You like with Taggart and stuff like that too. It's all connected at the higher end, like not lower end, at the top. So at the billionaire club, most of the billionaire club. And and so like even fiber optic cables, like there's so many like literally all running all over under the ocean and stuff like that too. And if you look at our satellite dishes, they're facing ground towers always and stuff like that. So if people knew how to implement electricity better and current and flow, and understand that they're like that the reason why there's like more planned power outages is because like these companies want to like overdevelop and overexploit us still and make money from us, but they actually don't want to do more work or more effort on their behalf in order to like make us like overall have better qualities of life and live like more healthy lifestyles, and which encompass more of the community, more healing, more interactions together, and all that other stuff. So yeah, if Canada like can actually stop Universe 25, that's like the experiments where like you put animals like rats, for example, or mice in a quarantine environment, so like a friggin' cage or like a aquarium or whatever you want to call it. So not a natural environment to the mice at all. I see mice all the time that are fine. You know what I mean? That were not raised or born in a cage. So that's my example to that as well. So, and in that society, like adding trauma, like literally, like taking them out of that environment, then adding trauma, and then putting like mice back in, has always caused Universe 25. So the societal collapse and degradation of the mice or the rats within those structures, and at alarming rates. And even the Stanford prison experiments too, with grown-ass fighting-age male or family-aged men that were willing participants of the Stanford prison experiments, and people that agreed to be prisoners, and then people that agreed to be guards, and they fully within their heads played the role up until like almost friggin' like killing people within a day, within 24 hours, people. So this is what I mean. Like, it takes 3 days. You can really psychologically mind screw with people if you give them a title and a role and or like money, and then tie virtue to that. Like, yeah, like it's the most dangerous Koa. I was talking about my dogs being left-handed because like I'm left-handed, and it could be something that's an observed trait and not something that is innately like we're born with. Obviously, more we have to like look more into that, right? Because there is like people that access their more creative side, empathetic side, compassionate side, like when they're left-handed apparently, and then the more right-handed people are like the more like it's like the logic, like the STEM, like facts and stuff like that. But I'm not even sure about that stuff, right? Like I just don't personally believe that stuff. Like I believe that if we're more ambidextrous, like this would be like beneficial. I'm ambidextrous. I do write with my left hand, but I do like firearms instruction, stuff like that, and sports with my right hand. And I do like try to like do things like equally like with both hands and legs in order to be more balanced. And so like maybe that's a thing too. But it's interesting that my dogs like are like whenever I ask them to give a paw or they want me to pet them, they always use their left paw, and I'm left-handed, so they're not mine. I didn't birth my animals, but I'm just saying that's my point to that. Is like they're not that wouldn't be an inherited trait. Is my point to that. So like maybe physical traits are inherited, and maybe behavioral traits are in fact something that is observed within the environment. And so even with regarding possible sexual orientation, and so yeah, I said that. That's going to get a lot of heat, but again, I'm not coming from a place of hate. My intent is coming from a place of love, and someone that has a behavioral and psychological and scientific background, as well as life experiences. As a female that is like an operator special forces type, worked in the special forces for years, working around them still, and nothing but good things to say about almost all of them. And yeah, I want to see if there's anything I'm missing. There's people are talking about like train derailments and stuff like that. That is something that has definitely been exacerbated, like the incidences and the events that are happening, like with the chemical spills and stuff like that. There, I will also say though that there have been train derailments now for many years, and so obviously not to that degree and escalation as what happened in Ohio and East Palestine. And then the Lake Michigan, which connects to the other lakes, and then the air being impacted as well, and this all being censored. And then there were even journalists that were arrested, by the way, during that, when they were trying to actually even share videos, peaceful. Like, it was blowing my mind. Like, and there are people saying, "I'm sorry." I'm like, if you were sorry, you wouldn't do that, because what you're doing is actually a crime, and that guy's not actually committing a crime. You are just enforcing like an unlawful order. And so someone, again, I'll give my own friggin' personal example. Overseas, I was literally doing Op Hydra, a major battle group operation, and I was in the Blonde area, and I was convoy operations officer, and I was managing the peace of our equipment and our personnel and our resources all over Afghanistan, right? Not just in the area that I was operating in. And that's why I was going out to areas too, to confirm and validate that equipment and resources were where they were, because oftentimes, sometimes when you need things, maybe they're not where you think they are, and that's why too, like it is what it is. Luckily though, like by me like disobeying an unlawful command, or what I thought it was, and the person was coming from a good place, and I understood where that person was coming from. He wasn't seeing the same situation that I was, or making the same assessments on the ground, because he was in Kandahar airfield, completely far removed from the situation on the ground. So anyway, but I did, and I was a woman, and it's not like I wanted to do it, and I was scared to do it, but I'm like, this is the right thing to do. So I disobeyed the order, and unfortunately, it had to be over the radio, because that's the only way I had communication with him, because I was literally outside the friggin' area of operation. Like, I wasn't even in a command post at the friggin' time, right? Anyway, and I didn't want to do that, and so, because I also didn't want to show like disloyalty to him either. Because even though like he had a bad reputation for, like, he was still, like, to me, like, overall like a great person, and someone that was always respectful to me as a woman, in a way that he was never weird or creepy, like never hit on me, like none of that stuff. And honestly, for like a leader to do that, like because I'm not ugly and I'm not dumb, so I can get where people would want to be interested in even dating me and stuff like that. But like, again, like, not even like that. Like, he was just very professional, and so like something that I definitely respected, and it was just so welcoming, honestly. So even though like we butt heads a lot and would fight, like on things, we were both coming from a good place, and it was literally, we were both of us literally had everyone else's best interest at heart. And so like I couldn't get mad at him for that either, but anyway. And so, yeah, not easy to do, and then I felt like I was being disloyal, and I hated that, and doing it like in public also, like, I was like mortified, especially as a woman, to do that. Like, I'm like, oh my god, it's literally ingrained in me to not do that stuff. Especially to a man, and so anyway, even to this day, like, it stresses me out. But so like when people are told to do things that go against their values and stuff like that, then they should think about it and possibly like consider that it's not the right thing to do. And that's my only point to that. And because I know a lot of people in all levels of government that actually do abide by those rules of conduct, that's why I'm saying this stuff too. So I'm saying, like, I work with all levels of government, like fire law, like even lawyers and stuff like that are speaking out on this stuff. They're just they're getting really pushed down and vilified and character assassinated. And I'm showing my examples of the stuff that I'm going through, because I'm showing like they're actually going through this stuff too. So it's not even just me, it's a lot of people. So if it was just me, I wouldn't care, right? Like, I wouldn't be speaking out on this stuff, but because it involves like millions of people, it's like I have no choice, right? So like, even when I hear people getting strangled to death, like the scientist that first like I was doing research on the friggin' COVID like virus and stuff like that, like just strangled within the last couple of weeks. I'm like, oh my god, like is this because he was gonna speak out on stuff I've been saying now for freaking years? Like, oh my god. And anyway, that stuff like stresses me out. And so, yeah, but on that note, like I don't want to like disappoint it. Like, oh my god, I'm already like an hour and 9 minutes and 20. That was a long time. So I think on that note, I will leave it at that. It is Friday, so like so if anyone thinks that I'm like going to be dealing with this like over the weekend, I'm hopefully not going to be, because like they usually do stop on the weekends, even though they have like refillers and fuelers and stuff like that come and work on the site. It's more manageable during the weekends. But unfortunately, my weekends now for the last several months have been trying to sell my home, so I've been having nonstop viewings. So even last Sunday, my only time to have a break, if I wanted to, I had 4 back-to-back viewings in that day alone, with dogs in and out of the house to restage in between and all that other stuff, and having to like leave and go further outside Stittsville in order to even get to a trail or a dog park, because they have also shredded all the dog trails in the area, including Shea Road by the friggin' church. Glenn Gower, city mayor, allowing this stuff to happen too, and walking that stuff and seeing it happen and still doing nothing about it because he's a coward. Because he's a coward. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's because he's not realizing it. So like I keep on saying that, but maybe it's and that's the thing too. Like I'm coming across as someone that's being condescending, and if anyone's listening to this point, I'm trying to work on that, because I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm trying to share so much friggin' information that's like going on in my mind as I'm being triggered behind my house, and then also giving examples of times where they were actually a threat to my life, and or made me miscarriage, and so it hasn't been easy, right? So like I'm coming across a certain way when I'm talking, and I'm trying not to relay my daily stresses in my videos, but it does come across that way, and I do not like that. And so once I get to edit my videos, like that's all going to be edited out, I'm hoping, and which should be soon, and then it'll be like more stuff that I was talking about before, like toroidal fields and frequencies and vibrations and God and various different advanced civilizations like the Tartarians, and more astronomy stuff, and then less friggin' like socialist models being implemented in Canada. Come on. Anyways, on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.